Access Fort Wayne offers reflections of our community. Production facilities provided by Access Fort Wayne are a service of the Allen County Public Library. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting organizations. For more information about creating your own television program with Access Fort Wayne, call 421-1250.
Hello, I'm John Dickmeyer. Welcome to Potpourri.
Hi, John.
Hi.
How are you?
We're going to have fun today, aren't we?
We are. The sun shines out.
The sun shines out.
The flowers are up.
The dog was out in the yard. You know, we have a dog next door to us, and that dog is a male who's been fixed, and we have a female who's been altered. They were both in lie down position.
This is a family show, John. Where are you going with this?
They were both facing south. I wonder why. But
They like the sun.
It was beautiful out in the yard.
Yep.
Hope it stays beautiful.
Hey, you know, the odds are with us.
I know. And we have a wonderful guest today.
We do. We have Kristi Browning with us, and she is with Revision, which probably doesn't tell anybody anything, which is okay because we're going to educate them. I met her, heard her, I should say, at a women's networking group, and she is just a plethora of information.
You know, you're allowed to plug that group.
Yes, I can. It's Premier Women's Networking. Right. Do you know I'm the facilitator now?
Yes, I do. I do.
Funny? Let's meet our guest. Kristi, thank
Hi.
you so much for coming.
Thank you both for letting me come and be a part of this today.
So share with us your company.
Sure. Well, first I have to plug my dog because I'm a dog lover too, and we have a new puppy in our household that's just a couple of months old. So we're getting used to having a little furry, fluffy, four-legged kid running around our house, and she's loving the sunshine as well.
What is she?
She's a mutt, but she has a lot of Maltese and Terrier in her.
Little dog.
Oh yeah, she's all of 10 pounds, but she's so cute and so much fun. So that's our little bundle of joy right now.
We call those chew toys in my home.
Oh, but she is about the size of one. So.
Yeah. Sundance has chew toys.
Yes.
Are that size.
But to answer your question about the company, Revision actually exists to encourage, empower, and inspire women, specifically focusing on women who are in business. And we actually try to build a company or create a company around unique challenges that women face when it comes to them getting ahead, whether it's in their business or in their professional, personal lives. We want to move barriers and obstacles out of the way that basically can keep them from reaching their dreams, achieving their goals, and getting where they want to be in life.
Is that a problem?
It is a big problem.
I know.
So yeah.
Well, and I think it's wonderful that you're there to help them because women, they don't see their value.
So true.
And I saw a something on Facebook last night, and it was interesting. It was just, I don't watch Dance with the Stars. Is that what that's called?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't watch it, but they had a clip on there of a soldier, and they showed him standing there, and he's bare-chested and he's muscled, and then they changed it, and he has one arm that has been blown off here and one leg that is of a prosthetic leg. He was in the service. He's still a soldier, but he had been injured and he lost these extremities. And after he danced, which I was blown away, they were talking to him, and they said, unfortunately, our world looks at people, and when they see this whole persona, you're a success, but when something's missing, then they don't think you're good enough anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens with women.
Absolutely.
Is that, somebody tells them, you're just a woman. I hate that word, just. You're just a woman, you can't do that. I remember having a job once, a guy told me, he was my boss, he said, you women just don't know what you're doing on a computer. And I said, show me how to fix this. He said, you wouldn't understand it. And today I'd throw the computer at him, but they don't, and they hear this as children, and they go through it and they go through it, and then they become adults and they're stuck.
Yeah. Well, we find that when we work with a lot of women, they don't necessarily have to have some catastrophic event in their life, whether they were kids or, as young adults. Just the mundane, everyday responsibility of life can deter them from really what that original dream was or what that goal was. And so I like to call them little girl dreams. We all had them at some point in time. We wanted to do something or be something. But, we get caught up in what we think we're supposed to do in life, the responsibilities of being a wife and a mom and trying to have a career to provide an income. All of a sudden we turn around and that's not really what we thought it was going to be. And I found myself in the same position, and that's what really fueled Revision, and that's really what gave Revision its name, because I wanted to see women have permission to revise their futures and revise their identities and their possibilities and what really made them them. And when I stood back and looked at my life, I had totally went around the wrong way as far as going after what I thought my dream and my goal was. And it's funny because it was a clue when I was a young little girl, actually, that speaking and coaching and teaching was something I was gifted to do and wanted to do. But I tell you get wrapped up in school and college and getting married and wanting to have a family or getting your first house and getting your first job, and then all of a sudden you're so far removed from that dream. And sometimes it does take a real big change in life to sort of redirect you back there. But the great news is that what happened yesterday doesn't have to dictate what happens tomorrow. We can make that revision and we can make that change.
Well, everybody has life. And we allow it to run us as opposed to us running it, because we think that's what we're supposed to do. And that's when that happens. We all of a sudden, we get to be 50 or 60 or 40 even, and we think, this is not where I thought it was going to be. And then you hear people saying, well, you're old. Well, 40, 50, 60 is not old, but society has said that.
Yeah, there's a lot of labels that come for anybody, whether they're male or female, but it tends to be we're more accepting of them as females. And so we take the wife of mom or the name of mom and of wife and of caregiver and whatever else we might do, community volunteer, and then all of a sudden we forgot that identity that we wanted to have. And we wear a lot of hats, but none of them are made for us. And we struggle with really where we fit. And I, again, had that same experience. I remember being married for just about 2 years and kind of having this wake up moment that this isn't what I thought my life was going to look like. And I kind of got caught up in all the new things you do as a new wife and a new adult. And I remember telling my mom, I don't think this is really what I want, and I'm not sure what to do now. And she kind of brushed it off as, oh, well, your job is to be a wife, and your job is to be a mother. And so I began really trying to channel my energy into those roles. But that really wasn't what I was created to do, and it didn't really let my talent and ability shine. And so when Revision came about, that was the heart and soul behind it. And it just so happens that we use business as the vehicle in order to reach out to women. So those kinds of lessons apply to women no matter what they do. But business women is kind of where I sort of saw myself fitting in, and my experience and my background led me to be able to work with them. So that's kind of what shaped that for us as we went forward.
Problem, I think, is that there are a lot of stereotypes which translate themselves into lies that we believe as individuals, and some of them are just sitting out there in society, and all of a sudden you hear, oh, you can't do this. And most people, and a lot of women say, they don't say why, they just accept whatever that is. And I think the greatest part of doing what you need to do is to banish those beliefs. I remember, hasn't been that long ago, that I was a business counselor, and one of the groups that I worked with was Women's Enterprise that the Fort Wayne Women's Bureau operated for the SBA. And you're correct, there are a lot of special issues that you'd never guess, and they were things that the counselors had to go through before we were even ready to talk about business.
Yeah.
Well, it's reinforced every day. You drive down the street, the billboards, you know, they're young and they're gorgeous and they're this big, and you know, well, years ago, I remember when they would advertise smoking, they were young and gorgeous. So if you wanted to be young and gorgeous, I need to smoke a cigarette because I want to look like that. And now you're successful if you're young and gorgeous, and that's not true.
Yeah, and we work a lot with women to help them define that success. One of the things I experienced in my own business career was working with a lot of mentors and business professionals to help develop me. They all wanted to give me the path to get where they're at. I remember spending a ton of money to go to this really great coaching weekend that was supposed to develop me as a business person. And the whole time I listened to the professional who was there tell me all the ways that I could build a business exactly like him. And he was a real estate tycoon that owned property all over the place. And I remember walking away from that thinking, I don't want to do that. That's not what I want. That's not what success looks like for me. For me, money is not a motivator at all whatsoever. If you wanted to get me to really work hard, money doesn't do anything for me. I mean, I like it. It obviously makes the world go around. My husband likes it, but it's not what makes me want to get up in the morning and work. And so I found for myself, I had to come up with what is that purpose that makes my heart really be heavy and won't let me give up. And so when working with women, that's one of the first things we talk about is, what is that success for you? What does that look like? We call it your passionate purpose. What is that purpose that is tied to a heart, that's tied to a meaning, to significance and fulfillment for you, that's going to help you overcome those barriers and overcome those stereotypes so that you don't give up and you don't walk away from it. And to me, that is ultimately the most important question that we ask our clients is, what does success look like for you? And after they tell me, I usually ask them again, because it's usually the stereotypical answer, the canned answer, but it's just me and you. You don't have to put on a show. Tell me for real. What is it that is your actual success definition, and how do we make that come to pass for you?
You find so many people, they want to give you the answer that they think is the one you're expecting.
Do you find many women, when you ask them the second time, they don't know?
Yeah, it's usually crickets. They don't know what to ask, or they think it's a trick question, and they want to know really what is it I'm trying to get to. And we just kind of keep working through that question until we really get there. I have a client of mine who does bath and body products. She makes them out of her home, and she does it chemically free and that sort of thing. And I remember her telling me that creating bath and body products doesn't get her excited. It's fun and it's creative and she's good at it, but what gets her excited is having a business business that allows her to financially support a nonprofit cause that was really near and dear to her heart. And so once we took that purpose and we applied it to her goal, and then we took numbers away. It wasn't about how much lotion can you sell and how much, can you do in revenue. We took that particular purpose and applied it to her goal structure. That set her heart on fire, and she was unstoppable, and she's really been able to build her business because of that. But it really is coming to that success point that makes the difference for her and for all women.
And men and women are different. Women are more emotional. Be it right or wrong, that's just the way we are.
Yep.
Sorry.
And it really does.
You don't have to be sorry at all. It's the way things are.
Absolutely.
It was God's little humorous joke. I'm going to put them together and say, now, make this work. But, we are different. And so when we had, like you said, this man stood up there, his thought process is not your thought process.
Oh, absolutely. And I've had so many different business coaches or mentors that I've worked with or talked to, and they always ask, so I don't get it. What is it that makes it different? And I recently just had this conversation with a very successful business coach, and he asked, and I told him, I said, well, happened to be in January when we were having this conversation. It's a snow day. How many women are at home with their kids trying to figure out how they take care of their kids and entertain them, but also work on their business today? A lot of them are in that position because they work from home, or they're in a position where they are based out of their home, or they're on the go. And so you can't look at them and expect for them to make $1 million that day when they're tied between what they're doing business-wise and what their demands and responsibilities are with their family. Same thing as when your kids get sick or your husband's sick, or all of those life things happen. We can't just brush them to the side and ignore them. We can't tell our kids, hey, go play, we'll be back in a couple of minutes, we got to do work now. There's always that inner struggle over, should I be working with my kids and playing with them, or should I be working on my business? And if I'm working on my business, I feel guilty because my kids are watching TV. If I go sit and watch TV with them, I feel guilty because my business is sitting idle today when I could be, doing customer orders or whatever it is. So it is a struggle that way.
I heard a speaker one time, and I really liked how she showed how to have balance, because that was never a strength of mine. I had to do it all.
Yeah.
And she said that when you are a wife, a mom, and you have your own business, she said, you can't do them all and do them well. She said, but when you are at home and it's you and your husband, you give 100%.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything for the kids and you're not doing anything for the business, but you're giving him 100%. If you're playing with the kids, it's the same thing. When you're working your business, give it 100%.
Yeah.
She said, but you are not going to give them all what they need by doing them all at the same time.
Yeah.
She said, you've got to break it apart.
And that's actually a philosophy we teach. We don't teach balance. Balance doesn't exist. Balance, by definition, means that everything gets an equal amount of time and energy. And there's no possible way for that to happen. You can't give 8 hours to your job, 8 hours to your family, 8 hours to yourself, and 8 hours for sleep. It just doesn't work like that. We tell women to strive for harmony. All things work together. They have a place, they have a time. If you think about an orchestra that's playing out on the embassy stage, all of those instruments have a specific note they're playing and a specific time they're playing. They don't all play at the same volume, they don't all play at the same time, but when they work together and they each have their own spot and they are doing what they do well in their spot, it is this melodious amazement that comes off of the stage. And that is what we want in life. And know that certain times need certain attention, and certain times we put things away in order to focus on something more pressing, but we don't have to make it equal. And we need to give ourselves permission to not be equal, to allow for harmony and not that balance.
And that's the key. Give yourself permission. I was working with a group of women to help them build their businesses, and the one girl had just gotten through an ugly divorce, and she wanted to go play. She wanted to enjoy life. She loves bands, and so she wanted to go listen to bands, and she just wanted to have a good time, and she didn't want to work her business. She had a full-time job. And I just listened to her, and she's, she's trying to balance. And I said to her, well, why don't you just put this on a back burner for a while?
Yeah.
Go enjoy your life. And she just stared at me. And I said, what? She goes, you're giving me permission.
Yep.
And I said, you don't need my permission. She said, I needed someone's permission that I could enjoy my life for a while.
And it's that choice, it's making the choices and knowing that it's okay to make a choice, and the cost behind that choice is okay if you're willing to pay it. It doesn't have to be, all things at all times for all people. You can set those boundaries and make those choices. And again, if it's your decision and you're the one that's the motivator behind it and you're the one that's paying the costs and are willing to do that, then it's a good thing. It's a good choice. It's an empowering choice.
And remembering every choice comes with consequence.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or otherwise.
Absolutely.
If I chose to do this, I also chose the consequence.
Right.
I used to teach my kids that, and I remember telling my son, if you do this, you're going to get grounded. And so he did it.
Right.
And I grounded him. And I told him, I told you. He goes, yeah, like I chose to be grounded. I said, the minute you made that choice, you chose that.
Yep.
And we, as women, have to remember that it's okay to make choices.
Absolutely.
Understand what's going to come with it and accept it.
Right.
Don't make the choice and then beat yourself up because of the consequence.
Exactly. It's exactly right. We say this philosophy is every time you say yes to something, you say no to something else. So if you say yes to going back to school part-time 3 nights a week, you're saying no to laying on the couch and watching movies on those nights, or no to taking a dance class, or going to the spa, or whatever your choices might be. It's never yes to everything. It's a yes, and then there's got to be a no. Somewhere there's got to be that no.
The big problem is ambivalence. When a decision is loaded both ways and you're torn.
That is a common concern, definitely.
And that's difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
And then you're out there, and to make it a whole lot more simple, it may be a product choice, or it might be a service choice.
It could be a dog choice.
Yes, it could.
Sundance sheds, so I have great sweepers.
Right.
And that's true.
It's so true. That's a great parallel to really what we have to face, no matter if we're male or female, but regardless in life, it really is. You make this decision that's going to make this consequence come, and again, that choice of accepting that, if that is in fact what you decide you want to go after.
But on the other end, very few choices that we make in this life are absolutely the most critical choice for you as a human being.
Yeah. Well, I think for me and the women that I work with, for them the most critical choice is what is it that they want, and defining it for them, and then giving them that permission to go forward. And then it isn't so much about changing things as they move. It's more about deciding what their steps are going to be in a way that's important, that's on point, and that keeps them moving forward. So one of the things that we encounter that most people never think about, especially when we're dealing with men coaches versus a woman coach, is how do you help a woman move forward to success without jeopardizing her marriage, making her husband feel threatened, making him feel like he's on the sidelines while she's out making her fortune. How do you work that relationship to where the business and what she wants to do success-wise builds her as a person, which then helps build the relationship and build the family. You've heard the saying that if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, right? So to me, I look at it and say a woman who's on point, focused on what makes her purposeful, focused on what makes her feel significant, can spill that confidence and that self-esteem into her kids, into her husband, into her community, into her church, into her social life. So it's amazing what that can do for them. But it's first, that definition is defining that point for them so that they know what that looks like, and they can vision that very real ways so they know the steps to take to get to that point.
So if a woman comes to you and she's got this business that's floundering, or she thinks it's floundering, maybe not, but she's floundering, what do you do with her?
Well, The one-on-one coaching program that we do allows us to really work alongside of them. It isn't about us just giving her a bunch of to-dos and a list of things that they need to tackle. It's more of conversation, and let's really identify where they want to go, what's keeping them from getting there, and putting tools in place and a structure in place to make sure they keep moving towards that goal. A lot of times it's just that identifying factor that is really the key to the puzzle. They're floundering because they're either worried about success, their fear of failure is overwhelming them, they can't give themselves permission to move towards that success, or it could simply be they're doing something because they think that's what everyone wants them to do. So it really does come back to that same passionate purpose, that definition, and then putting those resources around her to help her be successful where she's going.
And I think too, if they've in their eyes failed before, you know, I can remember having students saying, I'm afraid of failing, and I'll say, you know what, you try it. If you don't make it, you just don't succeed. You fail if you don't try.
Yeah, and it's so true. And I think that as a woman, we feel like we carry a lot of burden if we don't succeed, because here we may have put our family finances on the line. You know, our kids are watching us. What example is that going to be? They don't want to let their spouse down or their family down. And so we put that added pressure. And sometimes it's just knowing that the support structure around them will allow them to fail. You know, I have a great business, but it didn't come without scraped knees and bruises and bumps along the way to get there. That's part of growing and developing. So we have to figure out how to celebrate that and make that part of the journey and the learning process and going towards that success and that goal.
And then throw in all the different personalities.
Oh, absolutely. That just makes it fun. Variety is the spice of life, right?
Oh, yeah. You know, what one woman, you know, she's all, fluffy, 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 and the other one is just tell me the bottom line.
Yes, it's so true. It's so very true. But that makes it fun, and that's one of the great things about doing it on a one-on-one basis, because we can really massage that to fit that personality, to fit the direction that they want to go, and make it personable to them.
I think this is wonderful that you have this, because women have needed this for a long time. In my business, I deal with women all the time, from clients to consultants, and you know, they come to you with all kinds of baggage. All they want is a facial, and before you know it, you've heard everything.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not my job to be a counselor. My job is to make her feel good about herself. And you know, how do you get from point A to point B is not always the easiest thing.
Right.
And so what you're doing is wonderful. How long have you been in business now?
Well, technically, we've only been in business since 2014. We're really a brand new company, but Revision's sort of been on the sidelines, sort of my heart, for quite a few years now, almost 7 years now. So we just decided to make the leap and make it work, and we have seen a lot of great success stories come out of just the very short period of time we've been around. And that's what makes it fun, and that's what makes it really rewarding. So. Yeah.
Well, the biggest,
She's good, isn't she?
yes, the biggest part of success is completing the half hour, and it's gone so fast.
Gold star for us.
and you know, talking is wonderful, and I'm glad that you're doing this, because it's something that women need. You know. When you're in business, you need to be able to connect with someone who has a different perspective.
Yeah.
And I have a different perspective, because it's time for all of you to go and for me to end potpourri for today. So watch us again. I'm John Dickmeyer. Have